$572 billion in total with over 2 million employees, Walmart generated that amount of revenue in 2021. It is the world's largest employer and the world's largest retailer in terms of sales. Building such an empire, however, was no easy task. It all began when a poor farmer decided to open his own shop after being told he had no future in retail. Sam Walton was born on March 28, 1918, in Kingfisher, Oklahoma. Thomas Walton's father was a farmer, but the farm wasn't making enough money to support his family. As a result of this, the family moved around the country in search of greener pastures, moving from one state to the next until they finally settled in Columbia, Missouri. Around this time, Sam had reached the age of adolescence. He assisted the family by working a variety of small jobs and observed his father's ability to survive by making a small profit on each business deal he made. He also saw his mother start a fairly successful milk business, which involved him milking cows and delivering milk to neighbors. His parents taught him the value of hard work and how much effort it took to make a single dollar after his football practice. But things were not going well at home for Sam. Thomas, his father, was almost never present with the family because he was always on the road, trying to make extra money wherever he could. As a result, Thomas' relationship with his wife deteriorated year after year. In fact, Sam described his parents as the two most quarrelsome people to ever live together in his autobiography. Sam kept himself busy by participating in sports, joining the Boy Scouts, and taking on several leadership roles. Sam graduated from David H. Hickman High School in 1935 and went on to attend the University of Missouri to begin his career in business. He supported himself by doing odd jobs, such as delivering newspapers and waiting tables in exchange for meals while in school. Sam would get his first taste of the retail industry after graduating in the spring of 1940. He got a job at J.C. Penney as a sales trainee, which was a small shop in Des Moines, Iowa, at the time. Sam's starting salary was $75 per week, but the job did not go well for him, and he was regarded as one of J.C. Penney's worst employees. One thing working against him was his terrible bookkeeping because he despised making his customers wait while he fussed over paperwork. In fact, Sam's boss threatened to fire him at one point and even told him that he had no future in the retail industry. Walton's only saving grace was his talent for sales, which earned him an extra $25 per month in sales commissions. Walton was eager to participate in the Second World War when it arrived in America in 1941. He left his job the following year to join the United States Army. The Army recognized Sam's natural leadership abilities and chose him to join the military's intelligence corps, where he rose to the rank of captain. In April 1942, the military stationed Sam in Oklahoma, where he met his future wife, Helen. After a brief courtship, they married on Valentine's Day in 1943. Walton had a wife and a child by the time the war ended in 1945. As a result, he decided to launch his own retail venture with a $20,000 loan from his father-in-law and $5,000 from his own savings. In Newport, Arkansas, Sam purchased a Ben Franklin store. It is important to note that millions of small businesses failed in America during the 20th century. And this particular shop was losing a lot of money when Sam bought it. Sam not only invested in a shop that was losing money, but he was also paying far too much for it. The rent for the shop was 5% of sales, which at first sounded fine to Walton. However, after signing the lease, he discovered that it was the highest rate ever paid for a variety store. Despite all of his challenges, Sam outperformed everyone's expectations. He studied all of the typical retail rules and then broke the ones that didn't make sense to him, which was nearly all of them. Sam was required to buy all of his goods from company outlets when he purchased the Ben Franklin store, but he knew he could find cheaper merchandise elsewhere. So he found a clause in his contract that allowed him to buy his merchandise elsewhere and then sell it for a fraction of the price that other stores were selling it for. He made his money through volume rather than margin, but it took him nearly a decade to realize the power of that concept. Nothing Sam did was unusual. Was he not brilliant? He was smart, but his main goal was to make his customers' lives easier. and as a result, more and more people began to buy from him. When Sam and his business were doing well, he invited his brother Bud to join him, and the two of them were able to run the shop more smoothly. The Butler brothers, who owned the shop Sam had leased, were irritated that the Waltons were getting their goods elsewhere. But they couldn't say much because the numbers Sam was producing were unrivaled anywhere. In his first full year of ownership, his sales increased by more than 45%, reaching $105,000. The following year, the figure rose to $104, or $40,000. His sales had increased by another 25% by the third year, reaching $175,000. Sam was able to repay the $20,000 loan after only 3 years in business. His father-in-law gave him the entire amount. 2 years later, Sam had risen to the position of leading variety store owner in Arkansas, and most likely in neighboring states as well. But, in reality, it wouldn't matter because the company was doomed to fail. Because when Sam Walton signed the lease for his store in 1945, there was no renewal clause, and renewal options were typically standard features of leases. When Walton's father-in-law discovered this oversight, he was astounded that Sam could have made such a blunder. Walton had not only built one of Newport's most successful businesses, but he had also invested his body and soul into the business and the town, as had his wife, Helen. Sam Walton was eager to begin again, but this time he was determined to do it correctly and better than before. He began looking for a new location to buy another store until he found one in the small town of Bentonville, Arkansas. Walton opened his second shop in the town square here. In the summer of 1950, Sam opened his new shop, Walton's Five and Dime. But Sam would later prove them wrong. There were 2 other variety stores in town, but neither offered the same consistent low prices as Walton. So, when Walton finally opened his shop, it transformed the lives of the people of Bentonville. The American economy was doing well in the 1950s, and Sam took advantage of it. He was always looking for new ways to lower his prices while keeping his customers happy. Walton discovered self-service in the retail industry one day. The idea was simple: rather than having his sales clerks get goods for his customers, he would do it himself. Customers could walk into the shop, get the goods, and pay at the door. Walton was immediately smitten by the concept. This meant he could have fewer employees and lower the cost of his goods even further. This new trick not only worked flawlessly, but it also tripled his income in less than a year. Sam had the funds and resources to expand his business in the coming years. Sam went on to open one store after another, and by the end of the 1950s, Walton was the proud owner of 15 stores, which he had acquired with borrowed money and store profits. But Sam still felt he wasn't making enough money for the amount of work he was putting into his business. So he decided to try a new approach, and this new approach would change everything. We exist to provide value to our customers, which means that we must save them money in addition to providing quality and service. Walton's plan was to build large stores that offered deep discounts on everything they sold and to locate them in small towns by drastically lowering their prices. He would undercut his competitors and make up the price difference through increased sales volume. This concept was already being implemented across the country, but the difference was that the discount stores tended to be small and concentrated in cities. And the majority of them only offered discounts on specific items rather than their entire inventory. It was risky, and he would need a large sum of money to make it work. Walton decided to take a risk. In 1962, he mortgaged his house and borrowed a lot of money to open his first Walmart store in Rogers, Arkansas. Customers were ecstatic that they didn't have to travel all the way to the city to get low-cost goods. They flocked to Walmart stores in droves, and the company's sales skyrocketed during that time period. Sam continued to learn from his competitors, and devised new ways to lower the prices of his goods. He replaced wooden shelves in his stores with metal shelves because they were less expensive and more durable. Another strategy he devised was to keep his stores open longer than his competitors. This was something that only Walmart did, and it helped him make more money. He also made certain that his customers had ample parking, and unlike his competitors, he never charged a fee for parking spaces. Until 1969, Sam Walton had funded his company's growth through profit and borrowing. However, in 1970, he decided to go public. The initial offering raised approximately $5 million, representing 61% ownership of the stock. Walton was able to use the funds to pay off bank debts, repay loans from friends, and move forward with his next ambitious plans for the country. Walmart had 276 stores by the end of 1980, having grown from 14 to 26. They opened about 100 stores per year after that. Sam believed that Walmart's rapid growth was due not only to their low prices, which drew customers, but also to the efforts of his close associates. Sam made his employees partners and ensured that they received cash bonuses and stock options. As a result, they were able to participate in the expansion of his company. Walton also made certain that his stores were close to warehouses in order to allow for same-day delivery of goods while reducing advertising costs. By the end of the 1970s, Walton had transformed his store into the retail industry's fastest-growing and most influential force. Things were going so well for the company that one investor who purchased $1,650 in Walmart stock in 1970 saw his shares rise to more than $700,000. By 1987, Walton had made yet another brilliant business decision. He opened the first of his Sam's wholesale clubs, which catered to small business owners and others looking to buy in bulk. Walton had struck gold once more, and by 1990, Walmart had more than 1,000 stores and between 150,000 employees. But Sam had his share of detractors, both individuals and organizations. He has frequently been chastised for competing with and driving out small retailers. Sam Walton admitted as much, saying that small stores were doomed to fade away, at least in the numbers that they once did. Because customers, who have the freedom to shop wherever they want, are the driving force behind everything. Sam Walton passed away on April 5, 1992. He was 74 years old, and Walmart's annual revenue was more than $104 billion at the time of his death. Today, Walmart has over 10,500 stores and generates well over $500 billion in revenue per year. I hope you enjoyed the video, and please like and subscribe.